I promise there are some fun and important things to know about constructors and inheritance. Or maybe I only said important, but it's definitely fun as well. Since super is a way to call a constructor from the parent from within the child constructor, you may have guessed it's related to that. Let me show you something in IntelliJ. Here's a class vehicle, and here is a child class car. At this moment they both don't have a constructor, but I'm going to give both of them a constructor. So I'm going to say public vehicle, and in this constructor I'm actually going to print a line in vehicle constructor. And I'm going to do something similar in car. I'm going to create a car constructor with no arguments, and I'm going to print in constructor car. So now I'm going to move over to app, get rid of the student stuff, and I'm going to be running the following code: car C equals new car. And as you may expect, this is indeed going to be printing the in constructor car, but there's more. It is printing both lines. You may think, how is that possible? Well, it means that both the car constructor and the vehicle constructor are executed. And as you can see, the vehicle constructor was executed first. Let me show you what is happening by walking through this in debug mode. So I'm going to hit debug, and I'm going to step into, and as you can see, I'm first going to go to the car constructor. So you think, but wait a second, I said vehicle first. Well, watch this. I'm going to step into first. Now it's jumping up to the vehicle constructor, printing that line. Then when it's done, moves back to the car constructor, prints that line, and then back to main and done. And that's why it actually prints both of these constructors. This is because the first call in a constructor is always to another constructor. Also, there cannot be a call to another constructor later than the first statement. You might think I'm losing it because you don't see the call to the constructor, and we definitely created constructors like this. Well, guess what? It gets added by Java. Java adds the super when there is no constructor call explicitly. And remember, this can only happen as a first statement. So the first thing a constructor does is actually always call its parent constructor or another constructor in the class. As we could see when we went to the car constructor, it jumped to the vehicle constructor first. But this is also where things can get problematic. Let me show you how we can break the previous example. Let's add a custom constructor to our vehicle. Or actually, let's just modify this one, and that will break it. If I'm going to try and run my application right now, you'll see that it will not compile. Why? Well, there is an implicit call to the super. And this implicit call to super is without arguments, so it's calling a no-args constructor that used to be there. But now that we added a custom constructor, there is no no-args constructor anymore. And as a result, our code is not compiling because we're calling it implicitly from the child class. We have two possible solutions: adding a no-args constructor in the parent, vehicle in this case, or calling the custom constructor from the child explicitly. I'm going for that last option right now, so I'm going to say super, and I'm just going to call it car, like this. And right now, our code will compile again, because it's no longer relying on a constructor that is not there. So, to sum up, in inheritance, the constructors of the superclass are not inherited by the subclass. However, we can call the constructors of the superclass from the subclass using these super keywords, as we've seen in the previous video as well. If we don't call a constructor explicitly, Java will add the super at the beginning of the constructor. But this will only work if the parent class has a no-args constructor. If that's not the case, you should add one, a no-args constructor to the parent, or call the custom constructor from the child's constructor. Alright, that's it for constructors for now. I know it can sound like a lot, but it will very quickly become your second nature. Our next topic is going to be enums, but make sure to get some hands-on practice first.